welcome to a Monday morning here in New York City. This is First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That is the Hall of Fame. Chris
back.
Carter, Nick Wright. Great to have you back, CC.
Friday.
But you had a very fun weekend.
Yes.
We saw you all over social media, thoroughly enjoying yourself.
We had a great time. Great weekend. Inducted 8 people into the hall. Tremendous. They got to work on them speeches, though.
They do.
I think they still
Still going.
Yeah.
there's no music that plays to get them off the stage.
No. We're going to have the Sandman come next year.
We got a great show for you today. Lots of football to talk about. Antonio Brown is already missing time with a foot injury. Ezekiel Elliott, he's still waiting for a new deal, unlike Tom Brady. And that's where we start this morning. Big news out of Patriots camp as their quarterback of the past and present is now their quarterback of the near future. 6-time Super Bowl champ Tom Brady, who just turned 42 this weekend, reportedly agreed to a 2-year, $70 million extension, making him just the 6th highest paid quarterback this season. Yesterday, he tweeted, "I got a chance to hold my draft card a few hours ago. Never forget where you came from." See, what do you make of the deal that Tom Brady got from the Patriots?
I'm not surprised at all. Last week when we talked about it, we asked, was there concern that Tom Brady didn't have a deal? And I was like, no, because I thought that they would do something before the season started. And just like in Patriot fashion, they zig when you think they're zagging, and they create even more cap space. Yeah, they give Tom Brady the extension, but they created more cap space. And then talking to not only to Belichick this weekend, but talking to another New England executive, and this is how Belichick wants it. Like, he likes a quarterback on a friendly deal that now he can go out potentially and always get 3 to 5 quality football players. So they realize the Tom Brady situation is one of a kind in the NFL. They're trying to take advantage of the window that they pried back open, and being in the last 3 Super Bowls, believe in these next 3 years that they can get a couple more Super Bowl appearances. They were probably going to do it a different way, a different style, but I'm not surprised at all. Robert Kraft has 4 sons officially, biologically. But in his conversation, he always talks about the 5th, and that son being Tom Brady. Right now, you could see even this weekend, Jonathan Kraft is starting to have a more prominent role in the New England franchise. He was at the Hall of Fame weekend. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Bill Belichick, I don't know why we keep trying to make him quit. And I don't know why we don't take Tom Brady at its word that he's going to try to play until he's 45. And the only man that can stop him is Belichick. And Belichick doesn't have full control because the Kraft family, they realize how important Tom has been, not only to their overall development, their father in this franchise, and how Mr. Kraft got to $6 billion as far as net worth. Tom Brady had a lot to do with that.
And I'm really happy for Brady because it wasn't just an additional year. It's 2 additional years, which takes him 2/3 of the way to his goal of the age 45 season. So the age 45 season would be this year plus 3 more years. He's now locked in for this year plus 2 more years. To your point, C, he gets an $8 million cash infusion this year. He gets a cash raise, but they also, his cap hit goes from where it was at 27 down to 22. The Patriots already had, I think, about $9 million of cap space left open. Now it's 14, and you mentioned, could they add 3 or 4 quality players? Or could they add 1 star quality player, a player that is available and that they've been rumored to be poking around at, and that's Trent Williams, the left tackle out of Washington who's disgruntled with his contract. Prior to this even happening, there had been rumors that the Patriots were a team that had been in contact with Washington. Now that they have extra money, could that be the fit? Or will they just keep that flexibility open, see who comes available, or roll it into next year? But this is good, obviously, for both sides. For Brady, he gets the security, and the Patriots, they know they don't have to worry about Tom Brady accepting a franchise tag next season, which would put them in a very difficult financial position. And if you look at their roster, they now have the following all locked up for this year and next year. Brady, all of their running backs, Edelman, and, of course, the rookie wide receiver. 4/5 of their offensive line. So that's almost the entirety of their offense that we consider difference makers. On defense, Michael Bennett's locked up. Dante Hightower's locked up. Their entire secondary, except for Devin McCourty, locked up. So you've got, with the exception of Devin McCourty and a guard, everyone that seemingly matters the most for the Patriots locked into this season and next season. That was the case a couple days ago, except for Brady. Now Brady's on that list as well.
We talked about it on Friday. The Patriots, they're all in on Brady and Belichick, but mainly Brady, because Belichick most likely will be there for a while. So they go, he wanted 3 years. They gave him 2. Does that tell you anything about how the negotiations went or what his plan might be? Do you think they had long talks about what he wants and what they would settle for?
Yeah, I think Tom's had different plans than they had the whole time. But they're going to give the deal that's best for the organization. And they understand where they're at with Tom Brady. And I don't think that that 3rd year is really that important to them. 45 doesn't mean anything to them. 2-year extension, given the 1 year, that is 3 years to them. Like, will he be able to make it to 45? We're talking about his contract. I don't believe that's that important. I do believe he's going to try. And there's a reason why he keeps saying that, the reason why he put on the added weight. He's going to try to play until he's 45. So the extension, it is a great thing. The pay raise is a great thing. And, of course, like New England, they're the best in the business. They create more cap space. And I think, Nick, you make a great point. This is the team you're going to see for the next 2 years.
Yep.
You might as well get used to it. This is what we're going to see. And I'm sure Belichick, he's going to tinker with it a little bit. But I believe this physical style for which they're going to play, the same physical style that won them the first 3 Super Bowls, they've been a little more finesse on the last 3 Super Bowls, but I believe they're going back to how they won those original Super Bowls and get after people offensively, going to run the football, going to play to Tom Brady's strength, keep the game close, have him win it in the 4th quarter. Great defense. I believe their defense will definitely be a top 10 defense, top 5 in scoring. They have the best secondary in football, and their special teams typically are one of the top 5, top-to-bottom units that we're going to have in the NFL.
And this is a moment where I think it's important to step back and think about what just happened here. The Patriots, well regarded as maybe the smartest organization in all of sports, just decided it is in their best interest. It is a good move to give $70 million for players age 43 and age 44 seasons. That is impossible. That is just 3 years ago, that would have sounded laughable, that we're talking about a guy not playing into his mid-30s, but playing into his mid-40s, and the Patriots saying, sign us up for it. Yes, it is a testament to the way the game has changed and players are aging, all of that. But it is truly a testament to number 12 and to the way he has been able to adjust his game, adjust his body, stay in shape, stay viable into what would be his 3rd decade of professional football. It's absolutely remarkable.
And you wonder if guys like Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger, maybe not Eli Manning, but some of the older guys that were sort of around at the same time are thinking, well, okay, look what he was able to do. He's now opened up the door for us to be playing into our 40s. All right, we'll talk a lot much more about this coming up. On the other side, can a healthy Antonio Brown lead the Raiders back to the playoffs? Keyword there is healthy, though. That's next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back. We will get to Antonio Brown in a second, but first, another day of Browns practice, another one-handed catch from OBJ. Ooh,
oh, he got turned around?
Oh, yeah, that was a bad throw there. Threw it behind him. Or quarterback's going to say, I threw it where the defender couldn't get it. So you had the double clutch there. You can see the chemistry building.
Yeah.
Practice after practice with these two.
Watch this,
Colts camp, Jacoby Brissett throwing it away. Look who comes up with it. The ball boy, one-handed.
I mean, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good there, guy. I like that. I like it. It's paying attention. Didn't lose the other ball. Making sure you keep the practice reps going quick. That's nice.
I'm hearing...
Might be a Larry Fitzgerald in his future.
I'm hearing he's getting a tryout with the Patriots this week.
On to the dunk contest at the basketball tournament. Khalil Iverson absolutely posterizes the defender here. Ooh.
Oh, it's part of the dunk contest, so that guy just signed up to have that done to him?
Did his head just get smacked on the ground?
Man, that's stupid, man.
Why
is he in the restricted area? You're going to get dunked on if you try to go up in the restricted area. He's not big enough. Like, come on, son. Like, not the best.
All right, finally, Mo Salah thinking he's got a game winner for Liverpool in extra time, but Kyle Walker comes up with an amazing clearance at the goal line.
Teamwork make the dream work. Amazing stop here. Tremendous header. Oh, yeah, that's going to be in the net.
Nice.
And then Man City went on to win in extra time. So this is a game-saving play in the 93rd minute.
All right, on to the Raiders. 7-time Pro Bowl wideout Antonio Brown. After arriving at camp in a hot air balloon, he has since missed a significant portion of time there because of a foot injury. He reportedly visited a foot specialist on Saturday, could be back at practice this week. Now, AB's picture of his feet popped up on my Instagram feed this weekend, and let's just say my breakfast was over. His feet were blistering and peeling. AB's still smiling, though. All right, see, before we get to what this really means for the Raiders, can you just tell us what's going on with AB's feet so we can take this?
I don't know. My feet look good. I don't. I came to the office this morning. People like, Chris, we need you to diagnose this. Now, I'm a pretty good sports injury guy.
Yep.
I can see guys get hurt and predict what potentially happened. But to me, I know this. As far as your feet, coaches used to always tell you got to take care of your moneymaker. And your wide receiver, it's not your head. It's your hands and your feet. And in both of them, especially in your feet, you have poor circulation. So anytime you have any type of injury, any type of ailment, this right here, I believe, is some type of skin infection. Either he was wearing the wrong shoes, he stayed in water too long, or something. That's not normal. You don't get that. But when you have something like that, a complication of your feet, it's hard to get the type of work in. Like, you can only do so much pool work. You can't get out on the field. You're trying to go to a new team, develop some reps, rapport. We just talked about OBJ and Baker Mayfield. But when you can't be on the field, like, it affects the overall chemistry. So I don't believe it's something that affects his season, but I do believe it affects how and what kind of start they get off to there with the Raiders with their quarterback.
Just real quick, the reason that when you first walked in, I asked you about it is sometimes we see these things and your reaction is, oh, that's typical. Like, everybody goes through that in training camp, or a lot of guys do. I thought it was really interesting that you, having done a lot of the same training routines that Antonio does, some of your former trainers or Antonio's current trainers, that you said, no, this is an outlier. This is not something, no matter how hard you're working, that's supposed to happen. Dr. David Chow wrote an article about this former doctor, I think for the San Diego Chargers at the time, now Los Angeles Chargers, said it was along the lines of what you said, that his feet were in moisture for too long, and then he developed some type of infection that will have to be cut away. Not great, but so it is not something that sometimes we see NBA guys and their feet are all mangled or it looks awful, but that is typical. That's just from big guys running and jumping up and down the court. This is not standard even for a guy working at the level AB is.
Right, and we know how hard he works out. You talk about it all the time. He's there early, he stays late. So I think the assumption was, and we thought you would say, that it was just from the constant repetition, the cutting, the moving, but it's interesting to know that it isn't. But assuming he does come back and he is full strength, what is the ceiling for the Raiders and for AB with him in there in that offense?
Yeah, I don't see them above 8-8. I don't know if they can protect the passer enough. Are they going to have a running game? Rookie Josh Jacobs out of Alabama, second-round pick. I believe he's a quality running back. I believe they're going to try to put a lot of carries into him. How good of a receiver he is out of the backfield, I believe, becomes very, very important. Who they're going to throw to opposite of AB, because he's going to get a lot of coverage. And does Carr, early in this relationship, does it force him to throw in the coverage and do some things that Ben Roethlisberger and AB, they did, and they did it successfully. But it's not the quarterback manual for how you want to get the ball to a wide receiver. Those things are developed over a long period of time. You start throwing in the double coverage, the defense knows you're going to do it. They got away with it in Pittsburgh because they had tremendous chemistry and typically were always on the same page. But what if early they don't have that? And what's AB's demeanor going to be? Because I'm just going to tell you, the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they run their organization, you guys might have thought it was loose. The Oakland Raiders is loose. So I expect...
What does that mean?
There's not as many restrictions on the players. And so I believe that AB is going to continue not only trying to be a good football player, but trying to build his brand with the Raiders brand. The Raiders brand is about being brash, personal fouls, penalties, undisciplined. Like, it's not just win, baby. That used to be it. Now it's a bunch of other things, leading the league in penalties year after year, or definitely being one of the top 5. So I just believe that AB is in this pursuit to continue to be on the gram, see how popular he is. So he's not going to be on a winning football team, I don't believe. And I believe it's going to create a lot of frustration. Let's just see where that leads to.
And on the Raiders offense, this is where this season is something of a fair referendum on Gruden's system and on Carr, the quarterback, because you look at the offense. Everyone knows how great Antonio Brown is. I like Josh Jacobs a lot, and he's one of the few Alabama running backs that we don't think was run into the ground while he was there, that he should have fresh legs, that he didn't have a huge workload at Alabama. We talk all the time about teams needing to upgrade their offensive line. They have a potentially great offensive line. Colton Miller was the first-round pick last year, played really well. They brought in Trent Brown, remember, paid him all that money. Right now he's slotted in on the right side, but those are two competent tackles. Rodney Hudson's one of the better centers in football, and their guards are Gabe Jackson and Richie Incognito. Kind of remove him from the discussion if you can, because he's going to be missing the first couple games. It's an excellent offensive line. Maybe the best receiver in football. I think a very good running back. Carr has shown the ability to, at the very least, be an above-average NFL quarterback. Gruden's supposed to be an offensive guy. You're going to have time in the pocket. You're going to have time to either have running lanes or time to drop back. If Gruden's system's going to work, it's hard to be in a better position than they are offensively this year. Now, defensively, they have a bunch of questions on that side of the football, but I'm really interested to see Carr in year 2 with Gruden, with a real wide receiver, with theoretically an upgraded running game, with an even better offensive line. The offensive line was fine last year. How good can this offense be? Because this offense last year struggled to score touchdowns. Carr struggled to throw touchdowns. Like, can they score points? Because I don't think they're going to have a top 10 defense to where they can win a lot of games 17-14. I think they're going to have to get in the mid-20s on average in order to win games. In theory, they should have the personnel to do it if the scheme and the quarterback play along.
Quickly before we break, last year the biggest question here was really Derek Carr, and which Carr we're going to see week to week. We weren't sure how much Gruden really believed in him and wanted him there. Do you have similar questions going into this year, and does Antonio Brown help that situation?
Well, I think that I have more confidence than typically what people have in Carr. I like the way he throws the football. I believe he's definitely a legitimate quarterback, but we're in an era where we got so many quarterbacks. Where is he? In the top 20? Top 15, he's going to have an excellent season to build to repair his reputation. Having someone like AB, who has been one of the best, him and Julio Jones, the best 2 receivers we've had in football the last 3 to 5 years. It should help. Still a young quarterback.
All right, let's break there. Coming up, do you just trust Jerry Jones and the Cowboys to get Zeke, Dak, and Amari new contracts? Jerry Jones thinks so. That's next on First Things First. On Saturday, it's a doubleheader on FS1. First, Bryce Harper powers the Phillies against the Giants. Then Nolan Arenado and the Rockies take on Manny Machado and the Padres. Coverage begins 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on FS1 and on the Fox Sports app. Time now for us to go viral. All right, Chris Carter, you were at the Hall of Fame weekend in Canton. Looked like an incredible time. The class of 2019 consisted of 8 all-time greats. You had Ty Law, who had his whole Patriots family up there. Here's Bill Belichick. Looks like he lives in Florida. Kevin Mawai added the finishing touches to his bust.
That's really cool.
Right there. Nothing was better than Ed Reed's incredible bust. Look at that shot.
That's as good of a bust as I've ever seen, as far as true to life.
Yeah, him and Kevin Green, they added the hair aspect. Yes. Tremendous bust.
You seem to be enjoying yourself. Here you are talking to the aforementioned GOAT, Bill Belichick.
I mean, the whole football world's in Canton. You get these great opportunities, the behind-the-scenes conversations. We talked about the upcoming season. Troy Aikman's excited, our lead analyst here for Fox coverage on the NFL. My good friend Andre Reed. It's just so many just intimate little conversations. Guys challenging other Hall of Famers. Shannon Sharp, who we lead to after this, him and Michael Irvin getting into a body contest.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh, it was a tremendous week. I did a lot more hanging out this weekend than I typically do to nightlife.
Brought in a couple of your buddies from grade school that you have been friends with for 40
Yeah, I hung out with them. Yeah, had them hanging out with the Hall of Famers and everything.
All right, but pull back the curtain a little bit. Give us a little nugget, a little detail from you and Belichick chopping it up. Something for us.
You know something? Belichick has a lot of respect for me. And I was watching him because I came into the conversation. I was watching him talk to someone else, and he was totally blowing the guy off and everything. I said, let me save Coach. So I came in there backstage at the ceremony and everything. He's always very, very gracious as far as his time. Conversation basically is about physical football and what they've done the last say, last 4 or 5 games of the regular season, how they won their first 3 Super Bowls, and some of his players that I love. Stephon Gilmore, Dante Hightower, very, very physical guys, elite and at their position. Yes, that's about it.
That's awesome. Good week.
Stuff,
Hanging out with your guy Warren Sapp, too. We saw that picture the other day.
Yeah, some of that for TV, some of it.
Okay, that's about what I figured.
Yeah.
All right, time for
Sapp
some
Daddy.
stories to start your morning, sponsored by
Young
Gillette
Draymond.
Clear Gel. Over the weekend, Draymond Green agreed to a 4-year, $100 million extension to stay with the Warriors. Golden State now with 4 All-Star players in Draymond, Steph, Clay, and D'Angelo Russell under contract for the next several years. Nick, is this a good deal for Draymond Green?
I think this is great for both sides. For Draymond, he potentially leaves upwards of maybe 60, maybe 70 million on the table, but he guarantees himself this $100 million. And I don't know if that deal for 170 was ever coming. And for the Warriors, they remove potential distraction, which was one of my big concerns with the addition of D'Angelo Russell. How would Draymond react to this guy who's never won any championships or played any games with the Warriors coming in on a max deal when he was a pending free agent? So this is an excellent deal for both sides. Draymond gets the security. The Warriors remove any possible distraction. And no, they have Steph, Clay, and Draymond locked up long-term for the next 4 years each.
Yeah, good for Draymond. Draymond was in a tough spot. Draymond's not a max player. I don't believe he would have had 60 or 70 million out there unless it was someone with Phoenix where you're going to lose 50 or 60 games a year. No, he did the right thing, staying there with Steph, with Clay, because you can't exploit his weaknesses as much because they're so strong scoring the basketball. Now they have D'Angelo Russell. He can be a specialist. He could be that Swiss Army knife. His best fit is with Golden State. Happy for him. He went over Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, and they were able to get this deal done.
And now a nice marquee when they all move into that arena to have those names up there. On to the NFL. According to Colts head coach Frank Wright, Andrew Luck will miss at least another week with a left calf injury. Luck has only practiced 3 days since originally injuring his calf back in April, but he has been a participant in walkthroughs. CC, any reason for Colts fans to be concerned with this injury?
Of course. Any starting quarterback in the league, if they got a calf injury, you need to be concerned because you can't prevent it. Unless you try to put him in the shotgun. If we're in the season, then he might be practicing just a little bit, trying to get ready for the games. But, man, this is about perfecting your craft, even for Andrew Luck. His first healthy training camp in a long time, he gets a little nick, which we see all the time. But when you don't have those reps, they got a number of new pieces to that offense. Devin Funch is still building chemistry. Ebron only played 1 season. They didn't get many reps last year in training camp. So you want to keep building on what they got. Yes, this is something to watch for with the Colts.
The rookie Paris Campbell as well. Very limited time with Luck. Luck seems concerned. I read his quotes in Peter King's column this morning. He asked, are you worried that you won't be available week 1? He instantly said no, and then he followed up with quotes explaining how he's concerned, how he's frustrated, how this happened in April. He had 3 MRIs. They said they thought it'd be fixed by now, and it's not fixed. So I don't think you have to sound the alarm bell yet, but it is something absolutely to monitor and something that seems to, at the very least, be frustrating Andrew Luck, who I think, if healthy, could be the league MVP this year.
All right, moving on. We just mentioned it on Saturday. 8 more NFL greats joined our guy Chris Carter in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. One of those players, cornerback Ty Law, 5-time Pro Bowler, who posted over 50 career interceptions. Law spent most of his career with the New England Patriots and won 3 Super Bowls there. Take a listen to what he had to say about the Pats.
We created a culture of brotherhood and unselfishness that we displayed as we won 3 Super Bowl titles. Let's keep it real. We started. They even gave what we created a name. They call it the Patriot Way. But we know where it started, fellas. Together, we are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
That's great. It was probably pretty shiny up there. That's why I had the glasses on. It was pretty bright. So we just mentioned earlier that Tom Brady just got 2 more years to stay there in New England. Now you got Brady. You obviously have Belichick. How much longer do you think this dynasty can last there in New England?
As long as Belichick's coaching football, man, they're going to have a good football team out there. He understands pro football and the way it can be played. No one has the encyclopedia of football information. Man, he went back to the 80s and 90s and got that Super Bowl game plan for the Rams. Sean McVay was like, where'd that stuff come from? No one does it better than him, and you give him more time to prepare, which the bye weeks become very important. That's why they've been so effective. Yes, it's going to be open. I believe in his ability to be able to coach even beyond what Tom Brady's ability is, because I think he can get a team into the playoffs even if they didn't have Tom Brady. Now, he's been in this unique window with the GOAT at quarterback, but they've had several different styles. They've had all different types of coaches move, all different types of players move. The only constant has been Brady and Belichick. And you have seen last year when they couldn't throw the ball, they went to a more physical attack, running the football, playing to their defense. He will coach to the roster that he has. So as long as he's there, I believe the window will be open to win a championship.
What we saw from them last year, I thought, in the last 2 games of the season, a perfect example how without the other one, individually, each of these guys would be really good. But it's the 2 guys together that, to me, make them the champion. In the AFC Championship game, Belichick couldn't have won that game without Tom Brady. And without Tom Brady, 3rd and 5 with less than a minute left, 25-yard pass down to the goal line in overtime, 3 3rd and 10 plays, Edelman, Gronk. That takes greatness at your quarterback position. And Tom Brady in the Super Bowl could not have won that game without Bill Belichick's game plan, holding the Rams, one of the highest scoring teams in the NFL all year, to 260 yards total, 2 rushing first down. So I think let's just assume Belichick coaches past Brady's career, which I think is a safe bet. I think they'll continue to be a playoff team. I think they'll continue to be good. But this level of championship excellence, to me, ends when the partnership ends. What's the comparison that's always made to the Patriots is Duncan and Popovich in the NBA. Since Duncan retired, the Spurs have been good. They've been to the playoffs. They made a Western Conference Finals even. But they have not been a championship caliber team since they lost that great player, even though at the very end of his run, he was not the best player in the league as he was early, similar to Tom Brady. So I guess it depends on how you define dynasty. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think there's too many moving parts in football. I got into a great conversation with John Calipari and Jimbo Fisher during the event We Have Mutual Friends. And Jimbo is always talking about how much more he has to know to do his job than Coach Cal has to know. Because if you have someone like Duncan, and the reason why I disagree, because Brady doesn't play defense. He doesn't play special teams. He didn't kick any of those field goals. And when we talk about Brady trying to, okay, well, Belichick couldn't have done it without Brady. Well, Belichick still had the defense that kept him in the game. See, Brady doesn't affect the roster like Belichick does. That's why I have to disagree with you as far as Tim Duncan, because the guy who's the 53 man on the roster, Belichick has an effect on him. Tom Brady doesn't. No matter what, this guy's running down on kickoffs, running down on punts. Tom Brady can't do anything to help him do his job. But Belichick comes up with a scheme, puts him in the right position, puts other guys so where his weaknesses won't be exploited, and specifically marks out a task for him to do, something that he can accomplish. So how he affects the rest of the roster and his effect on the game is totally different than basketball with one player, with Pop. There's so many other things that he's got to be able to do to have an effect. That's why I believe he will always be effective in pro football and believe that he can win with it. When they got Matt Castle as the quarterback, they won 10 games, right?
11.
Yeah, 11 games. That right there speaks to his greatness. I think he's understood football a lot better in these last 15 years, and I believe that what he's learned with Brady will allow him to go on and coach a variety of different styles.
Oh, and I think it speaks to Belichick's just universally accepted greatness that I think most people fully believe that if Brady were to retire this year, next year, whenever, the Patriots will still be right there in it. But you say all the time, see a great quarterback in this league. The great ones are worth 3 to 4 wins, something like that. And so even if Belichick makes it to where he can make a mediocre quarterback worth 1 to 2 wins as opposed to the 3 to 4.
Yeah.
One of the reasons the Patriots have been to 9 Super Bowls is because they never play in the first round, because they always have a bye, because they have home field advantage. And we bring up that 11-5 team the year Brady tore his ACL. 11-5 is one way to look at it. The other way is they were 16-0 the year before. So they went from the greatest regular season team ever, to -5 wins. So I don't think the Patriots era, meaning like, all right, cross them off, now all of a sudden the Jets and Darnold are going to run the division. I don't believe that. But I think it is the combination that has made them the dominant force. I think it's very, very tough.
I'm just going to always skew it because I know. I had too many conversations with head coaches, and I know all the great quarterbacks that played the game. I know the effect and lack of effect that they have on the real roster and on winning. I know that it's slanted. You might want to give Brady, even if you're being generous, giving him 40% is giving him too much. Because what Belichick, the mentality, the do your job, that's not Tom Brady. Practicing in the cold, on unpleasant conditions. You think that's Tom Brady? No. It's such Belichick and what they do and how the front office operates. It's so much Belichick. To me, I'm going to say it's 70-30. Belichick with the 70, Brady with the 30.
We keep talking about the Patriots up here and everyone else is just so far down. If this dynasty were to end, who's the other team out there in the league right now with the intangibles to be the next dynasty?
Oh, I don't think we will ever see anything like this in pro football again.
There's no team that's even close to being able to touch this?
No, because you did have to have the perfect storm of it. Like you're mentioning 70-30, whatever the percentage is, you had to have the perfect storm of the greatest and the greatest at the two most important spots on the team.
Yeah, you also have to have an owner that believes, I'm getting ready to trade a draft pick because this guy is just as valuable. I'm getting ready to turn the organization over. I'm going to grow with him. We're going to stay together. We're going to groom this quarterback that we're going to get on a low-budget salary for 10, 15 years. No, it's not possible. Never will happen again.
All right, let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys, who will apparently never be the Patriots. As of the beginning of this very sentence, the Dallas Cowboys have still yet to sign their three biggest offensive stars in Zeke, Amari, and Dak. Team owner Jerry Jones was part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame inductions over the weekend, but quickly returned his undivided attention to resolving the contract situation in Dallas. Here's what he had to say.
You just know that, like so many things, it'll happen. It'll happen. There literally is no concern on my part at all about any time frame. That'll happen. The results are too good for them and too good for the Cowboys. Think about it a minute. The results are too good for them and too good for the Cowboys. That always happens when it's good, that good for both of them.
Sure. CC, are you as confident in these three deals getting done as team owner Jerry Jones seems to be?
Well, this is the thing. Zeke can't do anything else. I try to tell guys, you only got so much leverage. I mean, you hold out. What are you going to do? Play football? You going to make money doing something else? Ultimately, he wants to play football. The Cowboys aren't going to trade him. So the leverage as far as, they'll release it to, go have your agent go work on the deal. That's off the table. So Jerry and them, they don't hold all the cards, but if Zeke wants to play, his only option is with the Dallas Cowboys. One thing you didn't hear in that soundbite, Jerry talks about, and I did talk to Jerry privately at the Hall of Fame, and Jerry talks about not only the three people we talk about, but he talks about a group of 3 to 8 Cowboys over the next couple years he's trying to keep. So that includes some of those defensive players, La'el Collins or the offensive lineman. What are they going to do with him? That's a decision that they haven't made yet. So Jerry doesn't want to, in signing these offensive players, limit himself as far as the other players that he knows their contracts are going to come up in the next couple years. Defensive back, Byron Jones, like to get him signed. Those linebackers, both of those young linebackers, like to be able to get them signed. So right now, that's what he talked about to me. Zeke's got a number in mind of what he wants. We have a number of where we'd like him to be able to come in. They understand Dak. They understand Amari's situation is a lot easier. Amari's more of a team player. But Amari saw Michael Thomas get that $98 to $100 million deal that he got last week. So they're not foolish, but Jerry said it right there. They also realize this is more money than they're going to ever be able to make anywhere else. So we understand. And they got to have an understanding of where the team is and where they're going to go long term. I do believe they'll get most of these deals worked out.
And you mentioned Byron Jones. I think he's an important component to this because the way we've talked about it, it's like you have Zeke, you have Dak, you have Amari. If you get 2 of those 3 guys done, assuming one of them Zeke, you can use the franchise tag on Amari, for example. Well, that Byron Jones is going to be a free agent next year, and it's possible, in fact, I think it might be likely, they were trying to hold that in reserve in case they have to use it on him. That's a first-round pick who was an all-pro last year at a premium position corner where the Cowboys historically, it's not like they've drafted incredibly well there. They like what he's been able to do already, and he's not even, it doesn't appear they're even working on a new deal for him, which speaks, yeah, during the season they might try to get it done.
Yeah, I think they're working on 3 or 4 deals behind the scene because that's what Jerry alluded to.
Okay.
We only talk about those 3 offenses. He said, but there's 3 to 8 players that we're working on stuff. I'm not going to give you an update on all of them, but we're working on a bunch of contracts.
And one of those names probably Jalen Smith, who's a pending free agent as well, one of those defensive players. Now he would be a restricted free agent. For Zeke, to me the question becomes, we just talked about Draymond Green accepting bird in the hand, this much money.
Yep.
Is Zeke actually going to turn down whatever they can get the Cowboys walk-away offer to? Is he going to turn that down to play this year on a few $1 million with the 5th-year option being the only guaranteed money he has left, knowing the health of running backs, the lifespan of running backs, and the question being, is it worth risking, call it $55 million, at a chance for an extra 8, for an extra $9 million? That's what he and his agent are going to have to come to terms with and come to grips with. For some guys, it is. Yannick Ngakoue, they offered him $19 million a year. He said, nah, I'm not doing it, but I will show up, I will come play football, and I will run that risk because he thinks he can break the bank. The other
He also had to report, too, if he loses another year, then he's not an unrestricted free agent. He had to report by the 6th.
Oh, absolutely. No, but my point is he could have accepted their initial offer. He could have accepted the $19 million a year. He decided, I'm not going to accept that offer, and I'm going to show up because I'm just going to bet on myself. I think there's going to be an enormous market for me. The other complicating factor for Zeke is even if he plays really well, and even if he were to just play out this contract, what is the market for Zeke after his 5th year when he would hit unrestricted free agency? How many teams put a value on the running back position the way this Cowboys team with Dak at quarterback with their Super Bowl window being right now will? Like, he might be Jerry's point of kind of it's good for everyone.
Yep.
I think the subtext to it is Zeke, yes, he's very important for us, but we're important for Zeke as well because as we saw with Le'Veon Bell this summer, there are some teams that say, yeah, we could upgrade at running back, but that's not where we want to spend our dollars.
Another thing to watch, too, as far as these contracts are, there's a lot of negotiating as far as the collective bargaining agreement. Salary cap's $178 million now. It's only going to go up. The TV partners are more than happy to ante up more money. So to me, the salary cap going to be at $200 million. So Jerry realizes that because Jerry is the #1 money guy for the NFL. So if they can get these numbers at a good number before it spikes up, then you'd have room to be able to sign those other players. So watch it as we go throughout the season. They're having some serious talks about that collective bargaining agreement, trying to get it extended.
And then last but not least, the grass isn't always greener. And for Ezekiel Elliott, sometimes there is an advantage to staying with such a storied, great franchise like the Dallas Cowboys. You never know where you might end up, yeah, making more money, but not nearly as advantageous to other parts of your career.
Sometimes that green grass ain't good for you either, Jenna.
That's right.
True
I don't know
story.
as much about grass as you do. Coming up, can Tom Brady live up to his new deal? That's ahead on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, with the Pro Bowl linebacker Bart Scott. How was your weekend, Bart?
Good, man. Been defending myself against Dallas haters all day.
Oh, yeah?
They hit me up. They know how to find you.
Let me defend Bart Scott for a moment. For all his bad takes, don't let him be a man that says he doesn't pay his debts. Just paid me with this watch. He lost last football season. Much appreciated, my friend.
Balling
you
on
got
the budget.
plenty where it came from.
How do you think that little deal is going to end with the watch at the end of the
What do
segment?
you mean? He owed it to me. He just gave it to
Stomping him
me.
and taking it from him.
Dallas fans bad. Chris, on Friday, he said, throw Dak out, bring in Teddy Bridgewater. Cowboys be just as good.
Actually, Teddy Bridgewater younger than Dak Prescott.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
We are going to
The
talk
Chris
about
that
that a
sat
little
in
bit
this
later.
seat does not share the same opinions of the originator, Chris Carter.
The Texans and Packers have some joint practices scheduled for today and tomorrow ahead of their first preseason game on Thursday. Last season, Houston's Deshaun Watson quietly put together a great season, becoming just the 10th quarterback since the merger back in 1970 to pass for over 4,000 yards in his second season. He knows, though, that there is more to do, and he's looking to learn from one of the greats. Take a listen.
Aaron Rodgers, one of the best ever. A guy that I definitely been looking up to and excited to be able to get up there to Green Bay and watch him work and watch and see how he practice and see how he, go about his business each and every day. So I'm a huge fan. This is another opportunity for me to, try to take my game to another level and, hopefully, a couple years down the road, I'm in his position too.
Back in 2017, the Texans and the Patriots had some joint practices. Deshaun Watson pulled Tom Brady aside, spent some time with him, getting some advice from him, so you could see how he would do the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. But when you look at the best quarterbacks in the league, and Nick, recently, a couple weeks ago, you made a list, we don't often hear Deshaun Watson's name mentioned. Is he being overlooked as some of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, or at least in his conference?
Well, I think he is. I think he's one of the best, definitely one of the best young quarterbacks, and I think he's ascending. The problem is he hasn't been healthy. You think about last year, they really done a bad job in surrounding and building around him to protect. Last year he was sacked 62 times. I think he almost had a punctured lung. He had to take the bus ride. But you talk about being a winner. You talk about being a leader. You talk about a guy that's able to improvise, to make those off-schedule plays. Talk about a guy that can have late-game heroics. We've seen it all from him. Now it's just taking the next step is being able to get past the Patriots, which they've always had trouble with as an organization. And, if Deshaun can take the next step and as Brady continues, eventually transitions out of the league, I think the AFC is going to be wide open. I think Houston will be right there.
I think that we should be, if he had the type of talent around him, when I'm talking about institutional talent, we should be talking about him the way we talk about Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Came in early as a rookie, took over, immediately is like, okay, this guy is a star. And a lot of times we don't give kids credit for what they do in college because that don't matter in the pros. But what he did twice facing Alabama, we need to recognize.
Yep.
Because Alabama, two of the best teams going against that Clemson, man, he took those defenses apart. He took apart a pro defense with pro players at his biggest stage. I'm talking about he dominated. There was a bunch of special players on the field, and he was the most special of them all. And then you come into the NFL, to me, he just hadn't had a John Dorsey. John Dorsey fires Hugh Jackson, is able to get the quarterback. I'm not saying Bill O'Brien should be fired, but you need to be able to support him, realizing that Hugh was not what Baker needed. And then this offseason, man, they went spending wild in Cleveland to support their franchise quarterback. And I believe that is the difference. Right now, Houston, they don't have a general manager in place.
It's unbelievable.
They got some
like
guy.
They literally don't have.
Listen, Brian Gang got fired. They have some power structure where it's like a joint chiefs of staff, if you will. Bill O'Brien, who you said you're not saying you should fire him, but he certainly has been on the hot seat multiple times and escaped. He just keeps getting more and more power when you would think he would get less. The former Patriots team chaplain, Jack Easterby, is somehow one of their major decision makers, and that is the problem for Deshaun. Yeah. Because Deshaun has been brilliant. He took over at halftime of his first NFL game, and those next 6 games, he was outstanding. Now, he threw a bunch of interceptions, but he made enormous plays until he tore his ACL.
He's running for his life.
And they've never put a good offensive line in front of him. And I think people forget how good he was last year after he really got his legs underneath him. First 6 games of the year, coming off the ACL, 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 91 rating, okay. The next 10 games, 17 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 112 rating, and was outstanding despite not having a running game, which they still don't, despite not having an offensive line, which they still don't, and led them to the playoffs, and they were bad in the playoff game. He was bad in the playoff game. They were bad in the playoff game against the Colts. People think that I'm down on the Texans because I didn't have him high on my list. It has nothing to do with Deshaun. I think if you flip-flop Deshaun and Luck or Deshaun and Baker, he would be extraordinary, and those guys could potentially struggle.
No, he's not as good as Andrew Luck.
No. I'm not saying he's as good as Andrew Luck. Okay. I'm saying if you put him behind the Colts offensive line, we would see the best version of him. And I think that and right now the Texans offensive line, it's a 4th, a 5th, a 2nd, a 6th, and a 7th round pick. Now, they did spend a 1st and a 2nd offensive lineman this year, but they got flat-footed in the draft. The Eagles traded 1 spot ahead of them to get the guy they wanted as a swing tackle in Andre Dillard, so they had to settle on Titus Howard, and the Texans are just always, right now you would say, why aren't they trading for Trent Williams? They have the second most cap space in football.
Yeah.
Well, the answer might be because who makes the call? When you don't have a GM, who trades for a guy like that? And Lamar Miller is still there going into his 4th year when he's never been great with the Texans. I don't think they're well managed.
Right.
And I think that prevents him and DeAndre, who should be one of the best quarterback wide receiver combos in football, from reaching their full potential.
Well, they're not well put together as well, and they've spent a lot of their cap equity on defense. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with Jadeveon Clowney. We know that J.J. Watt, even though he's a great Texan, they pay him $100 million, and they haven't decided to surround. When you have a talent like him, you don't let Dwayne Brown walk away for peanuts. You make sure that you keep his left tackle to keep him upright and be able to support him with a good running game. Fuller's nice, but he's not, a top 10 running back in this league. And eventually Miller. They're going to have to eventually start surrounding this kid and building this team around him and transitioning from a defensive team to an offensive team and give him what he needs to be successful, because the league has changed. And he's shown that if you give him a little bit of talent around him, that he can be dangerous and explosive. His ability to buy time with his feet, his ability to throw the ball accurately down the field, the ability for him to come up big in the biggest moments has already been proven. He's already the leader of this team. He's a guy that's mild-mannered. He's a guy that walks around with the right, proper respect for his teammates and for the veterans. Now you have to do what's right by him, and that's around him, because you're on the timetable, because in the next 3 years you're going to have to pay him max money because he's that talented.
Just quickly, we all agree that he should be better than he is right now because of the pieces around him. He mentioned in this article, in this interview he did, that he would like to eventually follow the path that Aaron Rodgers has seemingly taken. One of the biggest takeaways was Aaron Rodgers is better off schedule than almost anyone else out there. He would love to work on that part of his game. But do you see a path whereby Deshaun Watson could even remotely come close to the kind of talent and career that Aaron Rodgers has had?
No, Deshaun, he has the type of talent that he can be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. As far as playing off schedule, he's always played well off schedule because he's a better athlete than Aaron Rodgers. He takes more chances, though. When he wants to be in the breath of Aaron Rodgers, he wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants to be considered a top 5 quarterback. But ultimately, I think he wants the precision where I'm not going to throw the ball to the opposition. The difference between the good and the greats at that is I'm going to not turn the ball over. I'm not going to let them get their hands on the ball. And early in his career, he's done too much of that, and I believe that's the reason why people maybe don't necessarily give him the notoriety that he deserves.
And that's where he deserves the most credit for the first 13 games of his career. He threw 15 picks. It was a pick a game for him. Those last 10 games.
The most criticism.
Right, absolutely. The last 10 games, he threw 2. If he can keep that up and not be sacked 62 times, which is a good way to have the football beat out of you, then he'll be fine. But that sack number, I don't think is going to go down with that Texans offense.
4,100 yards passing, 500. That puts him in elite company.
Yep.
All right, Bert, stick around. We've got to take a break. Coming up, we discuss how much of the Raiders' success is riding on AB's, let's call them blistering feet. That's next on First Things First. Back here, Bart Scott, time for us to go viral. Odell Beckham Jr. trying to write a new chapter with the Cleveland Browns. It doesn't hurt to make friends with the fans. Watch this.
Odell! Odell, what's up, man?
Your name on my plate.
Yeah.
Look at my plate. I'm not even lying.
Look at.
Hey, yo. Hey, he about to sign it? He about to sign it for real?
Yo, can you sign it for us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can sign it for us?
Odell, yes, sir.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, yeah, good looks. Oh, yeah. Good looks.
That's awesome.
That's cool. They see him in traffic. They get to pull up next to him so he sees it. That's really cool.
He's a great politician, man. Listen, you want to have some good equity with the fans, man. That's a good thing. He's always been great with the fans, but you know what I'm saying? He knew what he was doing.
Some would argue he left a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth of Giants fans, so it's really nice that he's coming to Cleveland. And
What were Giants fans mad about?
Yeah.
What are they mad about?
Not every Giants fan.
What, did he talk bad about Eli? All shucks with Little Wayne? Like, he didn't do anything to the Giants fans.
No, but some were rubbed a little bit the wrong way by some
what?
of his behavior.
Oh,
Okay, so I was
no.
a Giants fan. I didn't love all of his antics. I love everything I'm seeing from Odell now.
Giants fans are upset.
But he was great
Dogs
with the
walking
fans.
up and down the street, pissing, doing number 2.
Okay.
He raised his leg. They upset. What they upset?
But you wouldn't like me to raise my leg in the middle of the show.
If it did something for ratings, go ahead. You got pants on.
No, see,
Let's
I
go.
choose not to do that. Okay.
Jenna, I co-sign 100%. I do not want
Nobody
you to
wants
do
to
that
see
in the middle of the show, any show.
Any show.
At
Even in my own
any
private
point,
time.
and if you do, don't tell us about it.
Okay. All right, Bart Scott, on to the Raiders and their 7-time Pro Bowl wideout Antonio Brown. After arriving at camp in a hot air balloon, he has since missed a significant portion of time because of a foot injury. He reportedly visited a foot specialist on Saturday. Could be back at practice as early as this week. Now, the picture of his feet popped up on my Instagram feed this weekend.
He ain't gelling.
Yeah, that wasn't great for me. He showed his feet blistering and peeling. He seemed happy about it, too. Bart, what is the ceiling, though, for the Raiders if AB is healthy? Although I should first let you react to the feet because you're such a foot guy.
I mean, he need to go put that plastic bag on there with that
The
blue
baby
stuff,
feet.
that blue stuff they put on there, and let that stuff peel off. Man, he look like a python that's shedding skin.
Okay.
That looks nasty, man. I don't know. I tell you what, he would have to walk around and like quarantine him, man. I need the mercy.
You've never seen that from a football player?
I've never seen that, but to get back to your original question, what's the ceiling? I think the ceiling for them might be like 7-9. I think this is the season before the season, and this is a huge season for Carr. If Carr can't show that he's not a premier, top-rate quarterback, then you look at what the Raiders have: 2 first-round draft picks. You think about Herbert, you think about Fromm, you think about Tua that's coming up, and that's how you can really reset your team by dumping that salary and being able to go out and build a great team around you. So I think AB is just a year early, and I think right now John Gruden is in the business of accumulating talent and trying to build this team, but they're a year too early before they step to the stage. They're not as good as San Diego. They're not as good as Kansas City. They're not in the same class as Denver. I think this is a year where they just try and take a step, and then they try and build a team. I think this is Carr's last year. And, because you can see he's never seemed like he's a fan of Carr. So I think this is a year where they're going to dump Carr, then they're going to go young and spend a bunch of money and build their team like the rest of the teams in the NFL are with young quarterbacks.
It's a tough division. If you look between Kansas City and the Los Angeles Chargers, I do believe they can win close to 21, 22 to 24 games.
Yeah.
Like both of them could win 11, 12 games. I could see that happening. You mentioned Denver. I talked to John Elway, Von Miller, and them this week at the Hall of Fame. They believe they're going to have a nasty defense. They do believe their offense still with Flacco is not where it should be, but they believe that they are going to be much improved. I like the fact that, and I think it's great insight, man, this is the year before the year. This is the year they're going to make a determination on the quarterback. They do have a couple of those picks. Gruden is in that one and only. He ain't in no rush. He got a 10-year contract.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be moving to Vegas next year, which could be the year after that, based on that stadium deal and delays with construction. But I like the fact, man, this is about Carr. Can we protect him? Because if you look at who he's going to be going against, they got some guys in that division, AFC West, that can rush the passer. And I think they're going to have a hard time protecting him. I don't believe Hard Knocks is going to help this team. AB and Gruden, to me, will play to the camera. I don't believe it will help build this team the way it needs to be built going forward. So I like the fact with Bart. I'm going to lean with Bart as far as, man, this is the year before the year. I said before you came on here, they'd have a hard, he said the ceiling. I said 8-8.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came out here with 7-9. You probably heard in the back.
I arrived late.
But I think Bart is really on to something. This is a team that we believe it is improved, but they're in one of the tougher divisions to improve at. That 500 would be a good year for Raiders fans.
I think it would be a great year for Raiders fans. I think they'd take 500 in a heartbeat after what the last few years have been. I want to get back to the quarterback thing in a second, but on the division, it's not just that you have 2 teams that are clearly better than you. You have 2 teams that are going to be people's picks to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
People will pick the Chargers. People will pick the Chiefs. And so even if they could be better than Denver, maybe, that doesn't help you that much. Right. Like, there's not going to be three playoff teams out of the AFC West this year. Now, on the ability to protect Derek Carr, the year before last, so in the 2017 season, that was a great offensive line.
Yeah.
They then spent a first-round pick on Colton Miller. He was a disaster last year, but they clearly believe in him still. They spend all that money on Trent Brown, so they think they have their 2 tackles. They spent the money, or they bring in Richie Incognito, who, whether you think he should be in the league or not, he's at least been a competent offensive lineman throughout his career. If Carr can't be protected there, then they have mismanaged that position.
They got one of the best centers in the game, too. Rodney Hudson is a tremendous center.
And he has been ever since he was drafted by Kansas City. He's always been good. And Gabe Jackson, their guard. Like Colton Miller's the question mark, but they spent a first-round pick on him, so they're going to keep putting him out there. Now to the quarterback thing, see. Let's just assume they do decide to draft a quarterback. There's a point you've harped on, and every time you say it, I remember the first time you said I went and looked it up, it's totally correct. What's the last quarterback John Gruden developed? It's an offensive genius, quarterback whisperer. So the answer is the next one will be the first one, right? It's never happened. And so would they spend a first-round pick on it, or is this one of the reasons why Gruden's like, who's impressing me in camp? That Nate Peterman guy, I like him a lot. Because that's been more his style in his career, is take a guy with minimal talent, get the most out of him, and then who gets the credit in those scenarios? The genius coach. And so that, to me, is real questions for Oakland for this year and for moving forward. And that's not even talking about the defensive side of the ball. They felt they had so many concerns on defense. They brought in Vontaze Burfict, even though knowing Antonio Brown's already on their team, because they are just in the talent acquisition business. So they spent their first-round pick on the kid from Clemson, who I think is a really good defensive line. We'll see let's see what they can get out of him. But, yeah, I think 8-8 Raider fans would sign up for it this moment.
Well, then, how much is Antonio Brown really revamping this offense, then, if we're all still thinking that that this is the season before the season?
Well, he's giving you an opportunity to really evaluate what Carr is. He's giving you a weapon downfield, a guy that's proven that he can get 100 catches a year, and they gave him a running game behind that good offensive line, because I think they're going to have a much improved offensive line. We'll see if it was more about Brady or if it was more about Trent Brown, if he really can be a right tackle, left tackle on the right tackle side, because they can always switch him over to left tackle. But, I think this is all about seeing what Derek Carr is and understanding that you have 3 potentially franchise quarterbacks. Next year will be a great year for the quarterback position. And I think that if you can dump that $25 million a year from Carr, that allows you to go out and build the team and build that defense, because you're not spending the high equity, because you're going to have a young rookie quarterback under contract for 5 years.
Yeah, I'm not as high on their offensive line as you guys are. They got several problems on that offensive line. Number one is Trent Brown, that right tackle. He is not worth that type of money. Last year, New England protected him time after time after time. The Raiders went for that big deal. They're going to have problems at that right tackle, and they're going to have problems wherever Richie Incognito is. He's been out of football for an extended period of time, was not a great player when he left.
Great run blocker, though,
what's his mental state? And how do they develop that locker room? Who are the leaders? They're going to immediately say Richie Incognito is not a leader? Like, he's been a leader no matter what, because there's good leadership and there's bad leadership. And Richie has shown that he can lead to the bad. So now you got hard knocks, you got all these things. AB's not practicing. To me, it's a very combustible situation. But AB is a special player. And any team that he went to that we've been like, oh, they got better offensively. So that's the reason why. We know Carr, he's flashed on them. That's the reason why we're optimistic that he will help the Raiders be better. But they're still, to me, the worst team in the AFC West.
All right, let's take a break. Bart, we'll see you a little bit later on in the show. Gotta
Just
go.
for a minute.
Coming up, what do we expect to see from
here.
#1 pick Kyler Murray in his NFL debut on Thursday? That's next on First Things First.
Jenna, did you say Bart's a foot guy? Because that's not him. That's his former coach.
Oh, it's a little Rex.
It rubbed off on me, though.
Welcome back. We'll get to Kyler Murray in just a second. But first, another day of Browns practice. Another one-handed catch from who else but Odell Beckham Jr. That was a nice one.
Little back shoulder throw here. Him and Baker Mayfield building chemistry. Baker has to double clutch this one. Defender gets in his way. Back shoulder, defender. You can't defend that. I like it.
Odell either turns the wrong way or the ball breaks a little different than he thought, and he still snags it.
No. He's actually running this way, and he throws it to the back head, and then you open up your hips and snatch it this way.
All right, Chargers and Rams joint practice. We saw this catch from Keenan Allen on Friday. Now we got a new angle showing the full route. Watch it.
So we'll stop and go?
Yeah, absolutely. Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners we have, is dangerous playing the slot. The reason why he's not a top 5 receiver is the lack of overall speed down the field. If the Chargers can get him in the deep quadrant of the field, look for him to raise his rating as far as one of the good receivers we have in the league.
you. And finally, Mo Salah thinks he's got a game winner for Liverpool, but Kyle Walker comes up with an amazing clearance at the goal line.
Oh, this is brutal for Liverpool. They go on to lose this game. The game winner in the 93rd minute is that close, but the great Mo Salah saves it. Man City steals one from Liverpool.
You really know your soccer.
I like it. Hey, it's Nick Wright, and hiring is challenging, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple, fast, and smart. A place where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. That place is, of course, ZipRecruiter.com/approach. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards, but they don't stop there. With their powerful matching technology, ZipRecruiter scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience and invites them to apply to your job. As applications come in, ZipRecruiter analyzes each one and spotlights the top candidates so you never miss a great match. And right now, our listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/approach. That's ZipRecruiter.com/APPROACH. ZipRecruiter.com/approach. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
On Thursday, the Cardinals make their preseason debut against the Chargers, and that means #1 overall pick Kyler Murray will make his preseason debut. Rookie head coach Cliff Kingsbury says that he wants his rookie quarterback feeling good in his first live NFL game. So, Chris, what are you going to be looking for Thursday from Kyler?
This is what I'm going to be watching for. I want to watch the first 15 plays. I want to see Cliff Kingsbury, what style is he trying to create? If he wants that quarterback to feel comfortable, that means he's either going to come out running the football, either come out play action, or he's going to come out throwing some short passes that he develops confidence. Those are the only thing a quarterback has confidence in. So a lot of that is dependent on that offensive line. A lot of that dependent on the great David Johnson of a couple years ago. Is he still that football player? So if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, these are the things that I have to be able to see. That air raid offense, there's a number of issues with it as far as protecting the quarterback. And if you take away their #1 receiver, do they have the variation within the offense, which in the college, a lot of times they didn't have when you took away their primary receiver, of getting to that second and third guy? And the last thing is, they're going to blitz him. They're going to blitz the young kid. We're going to see how he's going to be able to perform. So what does Cliff have for blitz beaters, we call them? So if you decide to blitz me, I got a handful of plays. I'm getting ready to take a knife to you and try to gut the defense by trying to be aggressive and taking some shots down the field, compared to side adjusting, throwing the ball quick and hot, because that doesn't stop teams from blitzing. You have to be able to have productive plays down the field that they say, oh, you know something? We weren't ready for that. I want to be able to see that. But those first 15 plays, they set kind of the tone for what kind of season I believe that they're going to have.
So with the Cardinals, it's two instances of, as I would say, one of one in NFL history that we're going to see if they can work. One is the quarterback as small as Kyler. We've never seen anyone like him. We've talked about that a lot. The other is Cliff Kingsbury, not only his offense, but a quarterback, or a coach that was fired at the collegiate level, is about to take an offensive coordinator job at the collegiate level, who just got handed the keys to a franchise, who, of course, will be on its third coach in essentially 2 years. How will that work out for them? Because I think the general public looks at the Kyler Kingsbury combination, if you will, as a net benefit to Kyler. That he is a coach in there that is going to do the style he's most comfortable with, that his learning curve is going to be the least steep of any of these young quarterbacks. Chris, talking about this team on and off the air with you, you are worried about the opposite of that. You are worried that Cliff Kingsbury's system is going to be to Kyler's detriment because he's going to get hit in the face repeatedly or knocked down repeatedly in 2019 NFL, hopefully not hit in the face. But that he is going to take more punishment his first 8 games in the NFL than he took his entire career in college. And on anybody, that would be difficult, much less on a guy who might be 5'10", is probably 5'9.5". So that's because I am interested in the idea of, could this work? But I understand the protection concerns that you have, and that doesn't even speak to the personnel issues the Cardinals have protection-wise.
Yeah, if there's 20 different pass protections in pro football, you would say when they ran the air raid offense, they might have had 5. They didn't use the tight end a lot to block. They didn't use the back. They didn't move the pocket enough. It was very, very predictable where the ball was going to come out. So these are liabilities. These are things that Steve Spurrier, he ran. That offense that he ran, he didn't have those checks and balances, and they booted him right back to college. Chip Kelly, what he ran in Philadelphia, they didn't have those options inside the offense and inside the passing game. The running game was solid with Chip Kelly, but the passing game proved out it was not sophisticated enough. That's why he's back coaching in college.
But just quickly, if plan A is the air raid offense and it doesn't work, what is plan B for Kyler Murray? How can he be successful in the league if we see in the first couple games that it's just not, he's getting hit and it's not working for him, the line's not protecting him?
Jenna, I don't know what they're going to do. They gave Steve Wilkes was the coach last year. They gave him 1 year. I don't know how long they're going to be stuck with Cliff as the coach, but I haven't seen the adjustments, and it's the reason why Pete Carroll is one of the only coaches that's been successful. Nick Saban wouldn't adjust. That's why he's back in college. Pete Carroll's the only one to do it at a high level on both, in college and in the pros.
And Pete Carroll, by the way, had a taste of some NFL failure, went back to college, and then with this stint with the Seahawks, then after I think that was the 3rd team he coached, he then realized, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't. But the other thing is, and Cliff's not the general manager in Arizona, I understand that, but the Cardinals drafted like a Cliff Kingsbury recruiting class, going offense, 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 skill position guys, and not necessarily the things that, to Chris's concerns, the Cardinals need right now.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, hey, can Deshaun Watson be as good as Aaron Rodgers one day? That's next on First Things First. Back here on First Things First, and we are going viral. FS1 had a pair of awesome games on Saturday. The Yankees took down the Red Sox, and Cleveland topped the Angels. But between the games, our own Nick Swisher had a little downtime before he had to go back on air in L.A. Take a listen.
18 is proving quite daunting. That's got a shot. That's got a shot.
Get in. Come on.
Oh!
It's right.
That's awesome.
Oh,
that's
great.
Awesome. Shirt all untucked. Life is good for Swish.
But y'all know what that is, though. The L.A. office is biting off our office.
100%.
Because we got the putting course set up in our office.
And we've been doing
the bosses have seen it and everything. Swish is bored.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like we have a mole. Some of those people in L.A. that come visit us then report back on the good, the bad, and evidently our office hijinks.
Well, I don't think we have a mole because you're still around. They would have told.
Oh, they would have got me out of here.
How messy your office is and everything.
Man, I keep
right,
the door
Jenna?
closed and the shade
now,
drawn.
his office is a disaster.
Hey, man.
They don't even have office space out there.
I know, and I got a bed in mine, but I be working hard, man. I got to take naps at work, and it's kind of mad scientist style. I like it. Jenna in her office, sometimes when I'm taking a nap, Jenna come back to the office, think nobody's around. She does workouts, talk all loud on the phone about what she had for breakfast.
Remember when I did that big workout for like an hour?
Yeah, and I'm in there trying to sleep, cold in my office, no sheets, nothing on an air mattress. Jenna's like, and then I would have ate a waffle. Said I had quinoa salad. That sucked, Marnie. Let me tell you what I want to eat tomorrow. Doing damn burpees. God,
we
dog
love
it.
each other here so much. I'll be quieter next time during the burpee section of my morning. Time for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Gillette Clear Gel. So over the weekend, Draymond Green agreed to a 4-year, $100 million extension to stay with the Warriors. Golden State now with 4 All-Star players in Draymond, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and D'Angelo Russell under contract for the next several years. See, is this a good deal for Draymond?
It's a great deal for Draymond. You know, life is not fair, but this is really a fair deal for the Warriors. Steph having a max, Klay having a max. Also, D'Angelo Russell, him having a max. Man, they couldn't have Draymond in that locker room, especially with D'Angelo Russell making the type of money that he was making. He should be rewarded for his game. Yes, the game developed there in a special way, but he's making huge sacrifices also.
And I'm very happy for Draymond. He deserves this deal, and I agree it removes some of what was my concern, which was unhappiness within the locker room. It also, for the Warriors, locks them into this team. I thought there was a chance if they flipped D'Angelo Russell for picks and expirings that they could let Draymond walk and try to really revamp this team with just Steph and Clay as contracts on the books moving forward. Now Steph, Clay, and Draymond are locked in, all on their respective $25 to $40 million deals. So that's going to be the Warriors' big three going into the early 2020s.
All right, moving on to the Patriots now. Big news out of camp. Tom Brady, who just turned 42, reportedly agreed to a 2-year, $70 million extension, making him just the 6th highest-paid quarterback this season. Chris Carter, what'd you make of the deal?
I thought it was a great deal for the Patriots. We talked last week where we were concerned that Tom Brady was going into his last year, and I thought that they would come up with some type of deal. I had a little birdie telling me. And also, I've known this. Mr. Kraft, Robert Kraft, has been consistent with this. He's told me I got 4 biological sons, but my adopted son, the 5th one, is Tom Brady. And he would like for him to finish his career, and they are trying to guarantee that with the Patriots.
And I'm happy for Brady that it's a 2-year extension, not just a 1-year extension. Now, I'm sure the Patriots be able to get out of it if they ever really, truly wanted to.
Yes,
it's it's still year to year, but it's nice when he wants to play an additional 4 seasons. He's now under contract for an additional 3 seasons, which is very close to getting to his, at the time, unthinkable goal of age 45, but all of a sudden it looks more realistic.
I spent some time with Peyton Manning this weekend also. I'm not just trying to drop names and everything, but I spent a lot of time with famous people. I believe Peyton Manning would still be playing if he hadn't gotten hurt. If he hadn't started losing the velocity, and as far as losing the velocity on his balls started fluttering there in Denver, he would still be playing the game just like Tom.
I had lunch with the Pope on Thursday. He told us about the Texans and the Packers.
Stories are true, though.
They have joint practices scheduled for today and tomorrow ahead of their first preseason game on Thursday.
You better tell the Pope to bless you when you cook that meal for your wife tonight.
I need more blessing than just the Pope's. Last season, Houston's Deshaun Watson quietly put together a great year, becoming just the 10th quarterback since the merger in 1970 to pass for over 4,000 yards in his 2nd season. He knows there's more work to do, and he's looking to learn from one of the greats. Take a listen.
Aaron Rodgers, one of the best ever. A guy that I definitely been looking up to and excited to be able to get up there to Green Bay and watch him work and watch and see how he practice and see how he, go about his business each and every day. So I'm a huge fan. This is another opportunity for me to, try to take my game to another level and, hopefully, a couple years down the road, I'm in his position too.
We talk so much about the best quarterbacks in the league, and we don't often say Deshaun Watson. We just talked about the year Deshaun Watson just came off of. Why is it? Is he being overlooked as one of the best quarterbacks in the conference or the league?
Well, I think it's a couple things that work against Deshaun. One is we don't talk a lot about his team, the Houston Texans. The other is that we've only seen him play the 1 full season, and in the playoff game, he and the Texans as a whole were really bad. Like, it was not a good performance from them. But the other reason is because he came into the league with a ton of deserved hype, not hype in a bad way, hype in one of the greatest college players of this or any era, and going up against one of the greatest collegiate teams ever, Saban's Alabama dynasty, and took him to the brink 1 year and beat him the next. Like, he was spectacular. But what's hindered him in Houston is his first year when he's really blowing up. The day after the Astros won the World Series, actually, it's kind of bittersweet for the city of Houston, he tears his ACL in practice. And then last year, he was just under constant assault. I mean, he was sacked 62 times. And I know some of those sacks he ran into because he's running around, he's mobile, but a lot of sacks he ran away from. Like, that was not the quarterback hurting the offensive line. It took a quarterback of his athleticism to be able to survive that offensive line. And he almost didn't. Remember, he had to travel via bus because he couldn't fly because of his punctured lung. So I think the Texans as an organization, and the only organization right now in all of pro sports that doesn't even have a general manager, have done him a disservice in protecting him, because to me his ability is undeniable and his ability to make the spectacular play is as good as just about any quarterback in the league.
Yeah, he's one of the best. I think we should be talking about him in the same way that we talk about Baker Mayfield. And the reason why we don't is I don't believe they have the institutional talent that they have with John Dorsey, Alonzo Highsmith, and acquiring players at Cleveland and what they've done for Baker Mayfield. Because if you look at, he took over early, was very, very exciting, just like Baker. He ended up getting hurt, had a great second season, even though he did get sacked, led his team to the playoff. Him and Andrew Luck got off to a bad start last year. Andrew Luck about 3 games. Houston, and what Deshaun went through was about 5 or 6 games. But after that, man, both those teams were unbeatable. They were unbelievable, and people don't give them the necessarily credit for that. But John Dorsey, look what he did for Baker Mayfield this offseason. That their receiving core, even though they were good, were successful last year in Cleveland, wasn't good enough, traded for OBJ, went out and got a number of players on that defense. Olivier Vernon, Sheldon Richardson, a number of veteran safeties to be able to ensure that their secondary is good. So when you have people out there working for the organization to put that type of talent in the building, to me, Baker has a huge advantage on Deshaun. Does Deshaun have the type of talent that you would just, oh, man, would you just wet your mouth to be able to think, this is my quarterback moving forward? Yes, but what other kind of talent? And he needs some luck. Will Fuller needs to be able to stay healthy. Yep. And that offensive line, when you have a bad offensive line, you are a couple years away. Now, the Colts, they were able to repair their offensive line within 2 years. Typically, it's the hardest unit to repair, to make from poor to being good. Indy got it right. Houston, they're still looking for the answers. And I would say that's probably the biggest reason, not having a general manager in place, and that offensive line's been poor for a long time.
You know, Deshaun Watson talked about conversations he's having with Aaron Rodgers, what he wants to learn from him. He did the same thing picking Tom Brady's brain back in 2017 when the Patriots and the Texans had some joint practices. Do you see any similarities in their game? Is there a path whereby Deshaun Watson could one day be a league MVP or whatnot, the way Aaron Rodgers was able to do twice?
Well, I think the athleticism outside the pocket, how he's able to create throws down the field. When he's buying time, Aaron Rodgers, he buys time to take a dent in the defense. He's going deep. A lot of guys buy time and they get frantic. Their eyes are only short and they can only throw it short. Can he develop that? Because he has the athleticism. He's a better athlete than Aaron Rodgers. But what he needs to develop is what Aaron Rodgers has and what makes him one of the best ever. Throwing the ball to the opposition, Aaron Rodgers does not do that. That's what Deshaun needs to be able to do. Aaron Rodgers will throw the ball away instead of taking a chance. If he can do that, not letting the defenders get their hand on the ball, because he started off in this league throwing a lot of interceptions. Of recent, he's been a lot better. But stay on the path that he's on. That's what he wants to learn from Aaron Rodgers.
And to Chris' point, he's been a lot better. Final 10 games last year, only 2 interceptions. Just real quick, one follow-up. What, as a player, these joint practices, what can Deshaun or the Texans as a whole, but Deshaun specifically, gain from it that they couldn't if it was just regular training camp?
Yeah, just like any other profession, you can pick up someone who's great at it by picking up what's their routine. What are some little nuggets that they do? You know, where do you keep your eyes? When he gets outside the pocket specifically, when you get outside that pocket, Aaron, where are your eyes? Aaron will tell you, I keep my eyes down the field. I've trained my receivers. Don't go for the intermediate. Try to go for the big play. Things like that. What do I get rushed from my backside? What do you feel? How do you feel that pressure? And if there's something before practice, after practice that helps him keep his arm fresh as he goes through the season, something he's developed over the years, share that with the younger players. Those are nuggets that players are trying to take from the other great players that play your same position.
So the Texans and Packers will open up their preseason Thursday night at Lambeau. Coming up, are the Patriots making the right decision by extending the 42-year-old Tom Brady? Yes, the answer is yes. That's next on First Things First. Back here at Bark Scott, big news out of the Patriots camp as their quarterback of the past and present is now their quarterback of the near future. 6-time Super Bowl champ Tom Brady, who just turned 42, reportedly agreed to a 2-year, $70 million extension, making him just the 6th highest paid quarterback this season. Yesterday, he tweeted, "I got a chance to hold my draft card a few hours ago. Never forget where you came from." Bark, did you like the deal?
I love the deal because we knew that this would happen. And when he said he was going to play to 45, we all kind of chuckled at it and thinking that the game would retire him.
We chuckled at it when he was 40 and 41 and a little bit of 42, but not really anymore.
And I would argue this and say that, maybe this team coming in this year is better than the one that he had last year. Now, the big question mark would be how would they replace Gronkowski? But when you think about what they've added with Demaryius Thomas, you think about the depth that they now have with the offensive line. And the Patriots are great at cherry picking off of other people's roster within the division. So they bring in Mike Purnell to kind of a guy that really didn't have a big role with the Jets, but he'll just be a space eater, bringing back Jamie Collins. So now they have more depth, guys that have been successful there left, figured out that the grass wasn't greener on the other side, comes back. So this team is dangerous again. And now you talk about giving, Brady that deal, frees up $5.5 million. They've been linked potentially to trading for Trent Williams. So now if they get Trent Williams, now they take Isaiah Wynn, who was their first-round draft pick from last year, move him to Wright, and now blah, blah, blah. I don't know how they keep doing it. It's driving me crazy.
Well, the Trent Williams thing, I think, could potentially be real if they think they could get him signed to a reasonable extension, because obviously that's why he's not showing up at Washington. And that would be a tremendous addition for them after going from Nate Solder, who he lost in free agency, and then Trent Brown, who was piecemeal for a year but played really well, then got that huge deal with the Raiders. If they then upgrade to Trent Williams, who's a multiple-time All-Pro, and now they do have the flexibility. They also have the flexibility to sit back, let this cap space roll over into next year. For Brady, it's outstanding because, like you said, Jenna, he wants to play till he's 45. That's this year plus 3 more. He's not under contract for this year plus 2 more. Now, I'm certain if Brady were to fall off a cliff, something tragic were to happen, they're going to be able to get out of this deal, as the Patriots almost always do. They're year to year. But you look at their team, and they now have the following people signed up for this year and next year. Tom Brady, all their running backs, Julian Edelman and the first-round pick, N'Keal Harry. 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. Michael Bennett, Dante Hightower, their entire secondary except for Devin McCourty. So that's basically every relevant Patriot except for 1 or 2, a guard and Devin McCourty, are locked in for the next 2 years. So this is the team that won the Super Bowl, minus Gronk, plus Michael Bennett, and that first-round pick at wide receiver. That's the team you're going to see this year. And if they want to, the team you're going to be able to see next year.
The thing I talked to Belichick about, too, was how they won their first 3 Super Bowls compared to how they won their last 3. This last one, though, you would say was more like the first 3 that they won. I was providing anecdotes for what they're getting ready to do this year. He was looking at me and shaking his head, but he didn't verbally agree. Right. He just chuckled. I said, Coach, you're getting ready to create this style just like you did for your first 3. You're getting ready to physically just go out here and attack people. Right. With that defense, the secondary's the best. Don't have the offensive weapons, but not like Patriot form. He uses that first-round draft pick to go out and get the kid from Arizona State. And I talked to Herm Edwards, his coach, and he said this kid's like Des Bryant. He can be a possession receiver, should be great in the red zone. So watch this kid after we get past Halloween. All right, they're going to be physical early, developing their team, might have a loss here or 2. Everyone will give up on them. Barr to be on TV saying, oh, man, they're done and everything. Jenna and I would be like, hey, hang in there, and then try to develop him later in the season, him and Edelman, to lead their offense.
And, what the Patriots do such a great job is they give themselves scheme flexibility with their personnel. They can line up, and they're a burger. I call them the Burger King. How you want it, right? So if you want to be a physical finesse defense, like you watch the Chargers come in, we're going to bludgeon you to death with the fullback. So, like, what's old is new in the league, because now the Patriots are going against the trend. They can ground and pound you, but they know their quarterback, if you need him to air it out, make a play, he's equipped to make a play. I was talking to a running back who's been in the league for a long time, great player. And I asked him, how's he playing so much? How's he still playing at such a high level so late in his career? And he was like, Bart, man, these players, football players nowadays are dumb. He was like, they don't study, they don't pay attention. And I look at the success of the older quarterbacks, they don't have to pay the price because they just pretty much outthinking these young guys with schemes. I've watched Tom Brady motion from empty back to the backfield, count the box, and run the play opposite direct snap. And it's like it's old to me because I've seen it over and over again, but it's new to these guys, and they don't do their studying. Now with this social media, guys are just living in their own life, man. They don't pay attention. I watch how dumb they are. They don't pay attention to the new nuances of the game, and these older quarterbacks can survive because they're just pretty much outthinking them. It has nothing to do with their physical ability.
And Sean McVay basically admitted, I lost that Super Bowl. He said early in that game,
he was a fanboy.
He realized I was not ready and did not have my team prepared.
What surprises me so much is that a team with no Rob Gronkowski, no great receivers on it, and Tom Brady at age 42, most of you, if not all, everyone here at this table thinks they're going to be better than they were last year. Is there a position on this team that you're worried about?
I don't know that I think they're going to be better
all
than
right,
they were
Bart,
last year.
I think they're going to be better.
You do think
yes,
so?
I do.
Yeah.
I think they'll be better in the regular season.
Where are you concerned then? Like, what's your biggest concern?
Oh, well, I
Is it
think
at wide
that some of the
receiver like
issues
last
that
year?
they had last year could show up again this year. I also think that there's a possibility teams saw what they were able to do in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, and it won't catch them off guard as much. Now, they will still win double-digit games. They will still win the division. Like, nobody doubts that. But last year they won the Super Bowl. So do I think they're going to be better than last year? I'm not ready to say that, but I'm not. They're showing no signs of decline. They're showing the only real negative from last year to this year is the loss of Rob Gronkowski, which I think will show up on big third downs and in the blocking game. But they have been able to replace everyone else.
Their defense is better.
Yes.
That's the difference. Before, their defense was
secondary
a
is
liability.
much
The secondary's intact. They bring
Yeah.
Jamie Collins back, who's a Swiss Army knife. They know how to use them. Nobody else in the league seems
They
to know
the only
how
one
to
got
use
two
them.
middle linebackers weigh 250.
Right, exactly. They're guys that can play on the line in the 3-4 scheme or move back in the box and be able to still cover and still attack you that way. And then I'm looking at what they're able to do. You know, we're going to get Chase Winovich, who's a natural pass rusher, who they're going to use like Nikovic, and they're going to scheme him up. He's a natural pass rusher from Michigan, who I felt was a sleeper in this draft.
The problem, Nick, is even though if I play the Chargers again, the Chargers can't put in 3 game plans. New England can. Even if I play Baltimore, if I play them, if I play Kansas City, they can't adapt the way New England can. They went to training camp saying, you know something, defensively, we got so much talent. You know what we're going to do? We're going to play a 34, and we're going to play a 43, and we're going to roll it out when we want it to roll out.
Yeah.
I believe New England, their defense, is going to be better than they were last year.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Chris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.